So we need to see if the ground wire in here is making contact. So you want to be this way, and you just push like that. Fill the back.
Ryan's Mobile One.
Subaru Crosstrek. So on this Crosstrek, the horn doesn't work. So the first thing that you check is in the fuse box. I'll show you where to find the fuse and the relay. So the fuse is a 15 amp and it's hiding right behind the relay there. This is a horn relay. It's the same as a rear defrost one. And when you go to test or probe this, it'll be negative unless it's lit up. Basically it sends power through it, but it's not like conventional when the key's in on position and it tests hot, it tests cold. If you shoot power into this using your power probe or other device, it does this. So we know that the horn works, we know that the relay works because when we send power through it, everything's honky-dory. We know the relay works, by the way, because we swapped it with the defrost. The defrost was working. So we got to get this off to get at the wiring and see if the wire is working, not working. The circuit looks like this. You have a ground wire that sends the signal, and then the BCM or body control module sends the positive out to the horn. So we need to see if the ground wire in here is making contact. When you push on it, see how the whole airbag thing moves? The airbag is the switch for it. And we know that the fuse is good because we send power through it in honks. So most likely the problem is going to be in the roll connector, aka clock spring on everything else. So to get this off, a lot of cars you'll have a nut or something on the back, but you look behind the paddle here, you can see that there's a little hole. So there's a hole on this side, there's one on the other side, and then there's one not quite center but just a little off to this side. So I'm going to take it apart and then I'm going to show you afterward what you're monkeying around with or what you're poking so that you're not afraid of risking anything. Most of the wires, there's a harness that comes up from each side, and then in the middle is your 3 different connectors. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this, and the way I do that is I stick this tool, or you can stick a flat screwdriver like this in there. It just goes in like this. If you use a flashlight you can see better. Don't just go stabby stabby. It's a good idea to do a little scouting, but this video can count as that. When you push this thing and you get it, watch the gap here increase like that. So you do that on this side, that side, and the bottom. So once you have them all released, it's just sitting there. You don't want to yank it too hard because guess what? There's wires in there. When you look in here, you've got connectors here, 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 and this is your horn one. If ground gets to this, it sends a signal. This happens to be ground, so you can take this wire off and bypass it going through this and through this little insulator and this touching the base of it, or basically the release, and you're in. As far as the release goes, let me show you with the screwdriver what I'm doing in there. So I go in like the guy that kills wasps with his bare hands, and I kill every last man. Just kidding. So you see how I'm sideways this way? So you want to be this way, and you just push like that. When you do that, it releases this from hooking on the side of here. So to undo these, you want to have a pick, and the reason why, you can see there's a little release right here to pull it back. So you get that to release and give it a little wiggle. Give a little wiggle. And then on these, you want to have your battery disconnected typically, right? But you pry these up like that. They're pretty well insulated and protected, but and then you pop this guy and then pop this guy. And then your airbag's completely removed. So that's the first part of this video, how to remove your airbag. That's done. The second part is how to replace the clock spring, because you got to get the airbag out of the way first. So they're anchor holes. These are threaded holes that you can put bolts into, and then there's a nut right here. So in order to get the roll connector, you have to pull the steering wheel off. Pull the steering wheel off. Naturally, you got to release all of these. So you can see there's a button on this one. So you push that down, pull it back. There's a button on top of this bundle. That's the one that your horn's in. Pull that back. We're just going to have these all to the side, and then we're going to take off that nut. It's a 17 millimeter, so set that to go counterclockwise. Make sure that your steering wheel is as straight and centered as you can get it. If you have an impact like this, it makes it a breeze. It's a lot of initial investment. I'll leave a link in the description. But once you have one, you will be so glad that you did. Next thing you can do, you can take this, oftentimes you can shock the steering wheel a little bit by rocking it side to side and it'll pop off like this. But if that doesn't work, you can use the puller and pull it. You can see again, that's threaded. There's all kinds of different bolt pullers and steering wheel pullers that you can use. So you saw when we did the steering wheel, this was in the upright position, and then when I took the steering wheel off, it got bonked to the side. There's an indicator on these, and you see how it's orange right there? Look how that goes, how it passes it. Put it like that and you know that you're in the right place. Otherwise you can turn them one way until they stop, but so many can't count they turn to the other side. But that's the quick and dirty way to tell if you're good, which is really cool that they did that. With the steering wheel off, we're gonna go ahead and pull the cover. And you just give it a little pull down wiggle. Then grab from the back side and get that to pop. Clear down back here. Pop like that. Get your cover off, and you don't have to get real dramatic, you just have to open it up so that you have the access. So here's how you get a roll connector off. There's a connection here and here. Let me show you. So on this side, you just push down and it unhooks and pull back a little bit. That's all you got to do. And then repeat the same thing on this side. Grab it from the back side here and unhook it. From there you can see there's a little push tab on this white one. That one's easy. There's another one where you push the tab on the back side here. Got to use your fingernail on that one. It'll come down. And then there is this yellow one. These are kind of a Chinese puzzle. And the reason why is the whole entire thing comes off and there's a push release on the end. You can see this here. Once you push that up, then you can pull this back. Sorry, I kind of jumped there. This whole thing pulls back and it's spring loaded. And it won't just come back, you have to get the thing pushed down. You pull that back and it'll just spit the whole thing off. Once you've done all that, you pull the top one back. Anyway, you go ahead and pull it off like that and you're out. So the plugs are one straight up into the bottom of it, and then the airbag one, and then the main one. This one right here is the one that has your horn. This is the new one. It's in its box and it's taped closed. I always like to prove that the old one is bad and prove that the wire's broken in here before I open this. Once you open this, you can't return it. So we have the clock spring pulled out, and I've got a breadboard ribbon cable, and you see it's got pins on one end. I've got the brown pin to ground, and that will make this sound. And so I'm sending that ground into that one little pin, that top right pin that's for the horn. And where all of this comes out is through this guy right here. So if I run this down there, if I get tone on one of these pins, then we know that we're good. Because I don't get tone on any of these anywhere, we know that it's bad. So if I pull this out, just to show you proof of concept, if I take the alligator clip and clip it onto just that one pin, it's not to just one pin. It's to several of the pins. There's probably 3 or 4 of them. And we know it goes to the same place because when I go through here, there's one right there. That one's good. That'll hit some on this row. It'll hit a bunch on this row. So anyway, that's where it goes. So we're going to switch back to the brown one, and then we're going to probe some other stuff too. But just so you get the idea, that is the horn wire, and that horn wire does not give anything anywhere because we've already run it through all of these. We've like really meticulously gone through there. There's nothing. This doesn't have any other wires or anything else hooked up. This one's the actual airbag plugs, but then there's these little guys here, and as I go through them, I don't have anything on them either. So nothing goes through on that wire. And you have to have these tiny little plugs in order to do these ones, but it makes all the difference in the world. Same thing on a PCM. If you're probing a plug on a PCM, having a ribbon cable like this makes all the difference. I'll leave a link in the description where you can find one of those and where you can find the power probe. half the battle when being a mechanic, and the reason why you get paid a lot as a mechanic is it takes a lot of tools. Those tools, and if you know how to use them, can make you a lot of money and pay for them over and over again, or they can save you a lot of money as a consumer year after year after year. And now with the power of YouTube, you have the skills and everything that you need to get it right. With the camera in your left hand, you use your single hand assist knife and cut the box open. Don't cut the dog. The dog's pretty nice. We want to keep him around, huh? Here's a boof. Yeah, close up of that wet nose. Anyway, you pull out the new one, and let's plug this in. These should cost you just under $300. So this has dielectric grease lubricant stuff on it. I'll show you what to do with that in a minute. Plug should be the same, everything should match. And you'll notice that this has a key in it. And unfortunately it doesn't have an orange thing in the window, which is retarded. Just leave the key in there, you'll be alright. You can see how this has an interface there. So we're going to plug our little ribbon cable onto that one single wire, and then we're going to probe to the other side and just prove which one it is so that you know just which one to probe. You see we've got everything hooked up again. This is the sound we're looking for. That means that we're sending a ground signal into this. We're hooked up to the car battery at the other end of this. So when we come here, it's not the top left corner pin, but the one just next to it. And you can see we've got continuity on that pin. And if you want to see again with just a green light and without the noise, these power probes, you don't have to listen to that annoying noise. You can get it that way. So we know we have a good unit, and so we're going to slap it in there. Getting it in's the easy part. You can do this. Let me show you how. So where this goes is on the interface so that this doesn't bind up on things. So you just, basically I just put it on all the places that have a corner. Then you can go back with your finger and just kind of get it all around there. Just anywhere that it interfaces, you want to lubricate it so it doesn't wear them. If it wears on it and snags, then it could cause you issues. Steering's important. Did you know that the most important thing for safety in the whole car is the steering system? Your brakes have redundancy. You've got a parking brake or emergency brake, right? But as far as steering, there's no backup. And if your brakes go out, because everybody thinks it's the brakes, that's why I'm saying brakes. If your brakes go out, you can aim for something cheap or turn uphill or go for a bush. If your steering goes out, you're at the mercy of whatever, and you can't always stop right away. So that's why we got to be picky. You may notice that one of these things is not like the others. This one has a white thing that you can't see when it's over that. But you got to take this little box off and transfer it across. So that's what we're going to do. Remember when I showed you the indicator that showed that we were in the right index position to where this spin cable, clock spring, whatever you want to call it, was in a certain position? Is important because it's not just a single layer, it's double layered, and you have to have the bottom layer match up with the top when you transfer it onto the new one. So that's why this step was important. Don't forget to do that. It's this whole ring thing, and it clips on by these little clips around the side. You can see one here, and then they're all the way around, so we got to pop that off and get it moved over. So this whole thing is held on, this disc and this part, by this clip right here, and this clip, this one here. And if you need to put a toothpick or something in there, feel free to do that. Don't feel like you got to juggle the whole thing yourself. But it just comes off like that and then just transfers over to the new one. You can see that low spot right here that keys into this. What it is it's basically it piggybacks off the other one. There you go. Now we're ready to install. So we've got our little piggyback roll connector on there. We just give it a little wiggle and we just click it into place. Make sure that all three get in there. Put this to the side. First one in is the piggyback. Second one in is the yellow plug. And there's not like a particular order of operations that you have to do. This is just the way that I find is easiest. So once everything's in place, we can put our steering wheel cover back on. You've got this height adjust lever, and we'll get this fished onto there. You gotta be really careful with these because it's got these little tabs and things. You don't want to break one of those off, or else it creates a little bit of grief and hassle when you go to connect them again. So these have to go in behind here so that the screws can go in. So we'll snap that together. How's he doing that with one hand? I'm cheating with my knee. Just like you do when you're driving, right? Nobody does that but me. Everybody else does 10 and 2, right? So now we just got to put our screws in, get them going, and then send them home. One ugga-dugga. There we go. If you got a really crazy strong drill or whatever, don't use it. Do it by hand. You'll be glad. Then we take our steering wheel, and we got to fish the wires through the steering wheel. We've got to pull the brace out of the way. I'll go ahead and pull that. There you go. It doesn't want to, but it will with a little coercion. So the wires go through here. It's a lot easier to put this on once that thing's going. Alright, now is the time to make sure that this is straight, because if you don't get it keyed up just right, then it will be crooked. So I think that is dead nuts on. Being as it is, we're going to go ahead and put the nut back on. This one's going to take about a 3 ugga-dugga because of the whole steering safety thing that we talked about before. I'm going to click that in, click this. So that's how you would normally test it. If this gets ground from here, it honks. That's what should happen. So we've already tested our horn and we haven't even put the rest back together. We already know because we proved which wire was bad, and now we really know, which is fun. Alright, now these are color coded so it's hard to mess them up. Let's grab our impact and we're going to tighten that down to 3 ugga-duggas. So again with the knee, because I got a camera in the other hand. You guys, it's going to be so easy for you guys because you got 2 hands. And then we've got our airbag to install. So you want to have it just like it's going to be and then rotate like this. And that will give you the optimal scenario for connecting the connectors. These have not had the safeties, this yellow part, pulled up yet, so you got to do that in preparation. So I'm going to put the airbag back down and just get this picked. An airbag, if you guys don't know, so this can go off 2 times. That's why it's got 2 connectors. It's got 2 explosive charges in it so that it can, you know, like if it needs to go a second time or go longer, it can. But it has to have a positive and a ground. You should have the battery disconnected when you put this together. If you live as dangerously as I do, you don't. Certain conditions have to be met for the airbag to go off, but if you put positive and ground to here any way, shape, or form, if this gets involved in the mix or something for ground, it will go off. And if it's pushing against the steering wheel and it's pushing up, this becomes a projectile. Bad news. Some of you may bust me for not having the battery disconnected. You can see in the dash that things are flashing. You also saw that the horn went off, so guilty as charged on that. If this were a defective unit and it had wires crossed, it could potentially go off, so show some respect. I don't know why that, there we go. That one I had to push extra hard. Sorry that shot wasn't pretty. I'm in get her done mode. It's at the end of the video where everybody already knows everything and they're tuning out. Stay tuned if you want to see this work, how it's supposed to. Now would be a good time to pull the fuse out if you don't want to make a bunch of noise, because guess what? It's installed. That's how you put in the rest of the way. And that's it. We are fixed.
Yeah.
So again, share this with anybody if you've got a Subaru and their horn doesn't work and you want to give them the advice and know how to know what they're up against and what it's going to cost. So if you were to get this done at the dealership, I think the labor on it's probably like an hour or so. But if they have to diagnose it and everything else, it could be longer. It could cost them well over $400 or $500. If you do it yourself, $275, $280 around there plus tax. Now, if you disconnect your battery, your windows aren't going to work for the auto. And so you're going to have to hold this up for 5 seconds to get it to program. Disconnect the negative terminal on your battery. Negative, not positive. It's safer, easier. If you have airbag codes, you're going to have to get them cleared. If you had your key turned on while you had the airbag out, you will have permanent codes that you have to clear. If not, turn this on. There's our airbag light right there. Start your car and it'll go out as long as you didn't have your key on while your airbag was out. It works. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Enjoy the beef ate.
Bonus footage at the end.
So this cave goes in all directions down here. Pretty big area. See all the bats? Dude, there's a shit ton of bats in here, fellas.
There's a bunch of bats.
Oh yeah. You see all the guano on the exit? That tells I saw probably 50 go by just now and got them on camera.
Okay, Freddie. It's just a wall.
Wow. Holy shit. Wow.
Give me some crayons.
That's a big cave. Focus. You see that bat fly by? It's a good thing they got sonar, they'd be hitting me. Look at that. That just goes on and on. I believe that's the back of it there. Ceiling looks good, no risk of falling rock, or limited risk. Here's a main trail where people come down. So this goes all the way down under here. Shine the wall again. Get my camera to focus, there we go. Thank you. Is that Rusty?
Hey guys!
Good on you, man. That's a deep, wide cavern.
Yeah, totally unexpected.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Hey Brian, take a look out. Get you on your own video.
Impressive cave, the depth and the width.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to click like and subscribe.